Planetary Dynamics, writings by Sarah Kalvin. The Temperament Types, also known as Planetary Patterns. Featured horoscope is of biologist, Rupert Sheldrake. Planetary patterns form, as planets aggregate in unique groupings while orbiting the Sun. Seen from the Earth's perspective, there are 7 recognizable shapes, that become the matrix for the interaction between the 5 major aspects in a horoscope. The symbols identifying these highly recognizable aspects are, from left to right, the conjunction, the sextile, the square, the trine and the opposition. The planetary patterns are in flux, due to the varying speeds of the planets themselves, as they continuously make and break these 5 basic geometric configurations. The 3 very slow-moving outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, represent the base note vibrations of the solar system, as they track the gradual development of evolving life on Earth. They identify the nature of humanity's group orientations, that are an expansion beyond the culturally cloistered pockets of activity, which Jupiter and Saturn represent. They broaden consciousness toward a more universal and all-inclusive higher consciousness, as they maintain their positions for a longer period of time, helping to keep the patterns evolving slowly. As they sustain the foundation of the basic 7 patterns, they act as the unconscious motivating forces at work in human evolution from darkness to light. And for the seeker of life's meaning, they encourage an upward movement, from subterranean levels of autonomic behavior, to elevated states of conscious being. The outer planets are the harbingers of consciousness transformation, especially when making significant aspects with a person's natal planets. They represent the stable foundation of universal mind, and the collective unconscious. In contrast, the faster-moving planets are associated with the more personal attributes of human character, and point to habits of daily living and convenience. Because of their swift movement, they make possible the variations in character that are defined by the unique temperament types. The diagram shows the ideal formations of the 7 basic planetary patterns. These 7 basic patterns represent humanity's diverse modes of responding to life as a whole. That is why they are referred to as temperament types. Temperament can be explained as emotional and behavioral responses to local environmental stimulus, and to the world in general. To identify the way in which an individual is prone to view and respond to outer conditions, one must identify the pattern the planets make in a particular horoscope. This can be challenging at times when the planetary groupings take on a kaleidoscopic imagery as they move out of, and into succeeding patterns. It appears that incoming souls are not necessarily assigned to an ideal pattern forming in the solar system when they incarnate. But with a bit of analytical work on the chart, the temperament type can be identified and used as a tool to decipher potentials. The simplest transition, from one pattern to another, can be seen in regards to the bowl shape, as it morphs into the bucket pattern and back again into the bowl. The Moon is the swiftest of the revolving bodies in the solar system, as it cycles the signs of the year once a month, and it plays the role of the handle of a bucket, when opposite the bowl segment. The pattern becomes the bowl temperament once again, when the Moon moves back into the more populated half circle. The challenge, in defining this temperament, comes when the Moon as a handle is not quite perpendicular to the center of the bowl. This brings in the need for further analysis to define the nuances of the temperament. The chapter on the temperament types in the Essentials of Astrological Analysis will assist in understanding the fine details of the 7 types. How do the planets and their electromagnetic fields relate to the morphogenetic field? The answer to this question is, they relate in every way. It is an ancient concept that energy fields influence organic life on Earth. This subject is now being revisited by Rupert Sheldrake, the controversial biologist who bravely goes where conventional science fears to tread. Sheldrake professes that there is an ethereal and intelligent unseen, unified field, that gives rise to visible form and activity, linking all life together in a web of experience. Astrology points out that the Sun, Moon, and planetary fields of energy are a major component of the morphogenetic matrix itself. The colorful graph of the planetary energies is a simplified image, showing how the planet's magnetic fields overlap and synergize with the forces of neighboring planets. The fields, or plasma, act as ever-developing potentials of molecular and chemical instructions for life on Earth. Observing life events and experiences, in correspondence to planetary movements in a horoscope, reveal a binding relationship between these two factors. Our physical bodies resonate to the morphing solar system's fields. They do so through our central energy system known by the Sanskrit term, chakras. The chakras are circular and spiraling vortexes that have specific vibratory frequencies that instantaneously, through the ether or plasma, give substance to conscious mind, also known as consciousness or conscious self-awareness. These are the macro and micro elements of life in coalescence. All things vibrate with life energy and magnetism. And the human body too, exudes electromagnetic frequencies to take part in the complex play of forces in which we live and have our being. Since we are discussing planetary patterns and how they give substance and nuance to the morphogenetic field, it would be convenient to use the example of Rupert Sheldrake's chart to identify one of the temperament types. Sheldrake's horoscope is a bucket pattern, but deviates slightly from the ideal or norm. There is the necessary single planet set off by itself, that becomes the high focus handle of the chart, but the container segment does not have a delimiting rim opposition to make the patterning ideal. Although Mark Edmund Jones considers the bucket temperament type to include those shapes where the bowl segment has no delimiting rim, the departure from this ideal has led to the alternative title, funnel temperament. This term facilitates a more literal expression of the way in which this temperament functions without a rim. The term funnel was made popular by the humanistic branch of astrology during the 1970s. When there is no rim opposition, the contents of the bowl are not stymied on their way to self-expression, and the unencumbered energies are funneled directly to, and through, the nature of the handle or spout planet. This high-focus single planet, with its sign and house placement, is considered the point of release of talents that assists the native in the manifestation of his potentials. Here is where he develops a handle on the entirety of his personal gifts and accomplishments, and thus has a focused outlet for his purpose in life. Sheldrake's high-focus moon is in the second house of personal resources and in the sign of discrimination. The moon gathers and channels his highly selective discoveries into the domain of his own personal psyche. Then, with the facilitating exact opposition to the sun in the 8th house of other people's resources and approval, he manages to share the contents of his otherwise second house private worldview and personal assets. And as oppositions often show, there will be times when his knowledge receives approval, contrasted with times of rejection, from those who find it hard to comprehend the elusive nature of Sheldrake's driving mission and message. Note, that Venus and Neptune buttress the funnel's contents with a trine over the line of the sign. This allows the free-flowing nature of the contents within the 120-degree aspect to easily empty its contents toward the high-focus moon's spout. The key word for a high-focus moon is intense, and this reveals Sheldrake's overpowering emotional engagement with his own mission. Without a delimiting opposition, the core opposition, shown with red lines, thus becomes more prominent in an interpretation, because of the lack of distracting and challenging co-aspects. The bucket, or funnel pattern, identifies a person with a profound objective, revealing one who is driven with a mission to accomplish a particular goal in life. This makes Sheldrake an example of a man with an overwhelming dedication to carry his cause to its final destination of public awareness of unseen forces. Sheldrake accomplishes his preoccupying mission through his revealing demonstrations of the subtle powers of receptivity within the open field of energies that the moon so well represents. The following is a more detailed description of the 7 temperament types. The bundle has the possibility of a trigger square, which is a focal determinator, making the leading planet high focus. The native of this temperament most often specializes in one preoccupying interest. The seesaw, ideally, has both core and rim oppositions, and a high focus leading or cutting planet. Bridging a communication across the divide of contrasting perspectives is the seesaw's exceptional ability. The bowl has the potential for a T-cross configuration, making the squaring planet a point focus focal determinator. The hemisphere occupation of planets determines the degree of the temperament's personal development, describing the entire spectrum from a young soul with the bowl in its upright condition, to the old soul with the contents pouring out with an overturned bowl. The bucket has the potential for a grand trine and a grand cross, when it has both core and rim oppositions. The handle planet becomes point focus, where the energies of the chart have their release. There is an overriding objective goal in the intent of the native of this temperament. The locomotive has the possibility of a grand trine, a core opposition and a high focus leading planet. This temperament gives the native a powerful driving force to accomplish their goals. The splay can have a grand trine and a high focus reigns planet, when there is a single planet in one of the 3 segments. This pattern allows for the native to be well grounded and display an ever-pyramiding personality. The splash has the possibility of having all quadratures represented by as many as 5 oppositions. There can be a grand trine, grand cross, or T-cross, but this temperament can have no leading planet. The native is versatile, and endowed with a well-rounded scope of interests. For more detailed information on the temperament types, read The Essentials of Astrological Analysis by Mark Edmund Jones, Chapter 2, pages 27 to 107.